Hello, MedTech Insight enthusiasts. This is Dr. Jennifer Joe with my co-host, the fabulous Dr. Ami Bhatt. When we're not hosting the show, Dr. Bhatt is running the Massachusetts General Hospital telecardiology program, seeing congenital heart disease patients and teaching at the Harvard Medical School. She is also the incoming, president for the American Heart Association. So very excited about that. And she sits on a number of councils with the American College of Cardiology. When I'm not hosting this show, I'm seeing patients in the emergency room, urgent care, and hospitalist setting. And I'm excited that I have recently been made the chair of the Massachusetts Medical Society IT Committee. Very excited about this. We do good work. Please be on the lookout. We have our students, residents, and fellows IT award that comes with some cash prizes that we'll be looking for submissions for. As a reminder, MedTech Insights is a live weekly interactive talk show where we host two guest leaders in digital health every Tuesday at 12 noon. It's live and recorded, so you can look at the recordings on our YouTube and also check out our website, Vanguard.Health /MedTech Insights. I do have some announcements, but I'm just going to pass it over to Dr. Bhatt for right now.
Great. Thank you, Jen. I'll make a cardiologist out of you yet. You're learning all of our societies, so it's perfect.
That's true. I am.
Happy post-marathon Monday in Boston. Between the Red Sox and the marathon, we have had quite an exciting time. So we are really excited today to have Digbi Health with us. As a quick reminder, Dr. Joe, myself, and our guests only represent ourselves and not necessarily the companies with which we affiliate or work for. We are especially excited with Digbi Health because when we think about where the conversations have gone recently, both in the global kind of digital health and medical care community, as well as locally here in Boston, there's been a lot of talk about how we can create patient agency and really having, people and individuals, because we're all really patients, understand a lot more about our own health and then be able to do some of the lifestyle changes or guided medication changes, procedures, et cetera, that will make us better. And so it's kind of an honor to have them today and think about the partnership between clinicians, hospital systems, companies, as well as our patients in really making healthcare better in the communities where people live. And that's kind of why we're excited to have Digbi here alone today, actually, just so we can kind of dive into this concept of really thinking about how we give people agency over their own health. So a few updates or announcements, I guess. Jen, are you trying to get to that too?
I am, because we have so many announcements.
Yes, and, you started and I'll join in. Go. It's good.
So we are moving into conference seasons. So we do have a lot, and we get a lot of questions about where to find me and Dr. Bhatt, how to meet us, how to chat with us, how to work with us, how to work with the organizations or associations or institutions that we're affiliated with. I know there's a long list. This week, I will be at Health XL. Very excited about it, attending the all-day conference, and also will be at the nice drink receptions here in Boston this Friday. So if you are around, please look for me. And then Health, HLTH, is in town as well. I will not be attending the conference, but I am excited to be attending the American Medical Association reception on the Monday evening. We're going to focus on She Drives the Future of Digital Health. So very excited about that. Also always excited to work with the AMA, Meg Barron and Stacey Lloyd, and have been working with them for a while. So please, if you're there, reach out, and I look forward to seeing you. And then Dr. Bhatt, you have some announcements as well. You're floating around town.
We are floating around town at HLTH. Look forward to running into people or seeing people as they're here in Boston. Over the next few weeks, we also have the MedExec Women Leadership Conference. So anyone who is attending that, look forward to seeing you then. And we have the Convergence Forum happening out at Waukwasa, one of my favorite places out on Cape Cod. Really great opportunity for leaders in investing in healthcare and companies to think about digital health and change in the future and how we're really the ones who can shape it and shape it pretty quickly. And so that's, I think, going to be equally exciting. Moving forward after that, we have the American Heart Association, which we are very excited about coming up in November. And then, of course, an all-time high after the new year with the Consumer Electronics Show. And the Consumer Technology Association has asked us to lead a section on artificial intelligence and thinking about bias and avoiding that in medical artificial intelligence. So really honored that the CES continues to consider healthcare an area of strength and an area of potential growth. So with that,
Ami is about to announce our our guest, but I am just going to be remind you we are live, so we love to, and also we're streaming live through Twitter because they have made that possible now. So very excited about that. When you are watching us, if you type in the comments, let us know who you are, where you're watching from. We love to hear from our audience members, and also as you're typing, we can show that in the actual live stream. And so if you have questions for our guest, please go ahead and type that in. Over to you, Ami.
Perfect. I'll just add, we're also interested in knowing what you're doing. So who you are, where you're from, but please feel free. Sometimes you're nervous about talk shows and sending in what you're working on. That's great. We want to connect more people. So would love to hear that and have other people see it. So Digbi Health CEO, today we have Ranjan Sinha with us. He founded Digbi Health and serves as the CEO. He's passionate about AI, the gut biome, and genomics-based precision care, and he's practiced it successfully to address his own life-threatening cardiovascular disorder. Encouraged by doctors and scientist supporters, he decided to commercialize this passion. Formerly, he worked at Apple and has experience in this arena. He's built and led companies in the areas of software, HR, and consumer foods. He's a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, an excellent organization, and a regular speaker at health conferences. We also have the Digbi Health CSO, Daniel Almonacid, with us. He's a clinical biochemist with a PhD in molecular informatics and postdoctoral training in bioengineering. His work is advanced understanding of basic biologic functions and numerous specific diseases, and his discoveries are the basis for a wide variety of consumer, medical, agricultural testing products, as well as drug development. He is actually literally the third, I think I have this right, Jen, he's the third most prolific inventor in the microbiome field worldwide.
Oh, that's incredible. Very excited about these guys.
So without further ado, let's bring on Daniel and Ranjan. So excited to have both of you here with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. So we were very excited. We had an opportunity to meet with you earlier and really learn about the details of Digbi Health. And I think before we start talking about patient agency and the platform and how this really transforms how we do healthcare, it might be good to do a deep dive into introducing our audience to Digbi and the concept. So I think you have an introductory video. Maybe we can start with that and then a little bit of explanation and then have the audience join in with questions if that works.
That'll be great. Let me fire up that video.
Excellent.
Okay. Looking good.
What is personalized healthcare? Is it about working really hard or making the right choices? Or keeping a track? Or just staying hydrated? Well, to us, personalized healthcare is really about being personalized. We tell you what your body needs.
The Mediterranean diet, which I thought was going to be really healthy and a great way to lose weight, is not the answer for me.
I had no idea certain foods fell into certain groups like monosaturated fat.
The DNA testing in the gut biome, that was the game changer.
Gives you a reading of what you need to do based on your genetics.
Welcome to a personalized weight loss program by Digbi Health, customized to your DNA, gut biome, blood markers, and lifestyle, as no two humans have the same DNA or gut biome in the.
So that is Amy in a nutshell. And this video is on weight loss, but we really deal. Most of our members we manage are dealing with polychronic illnesses, either on the insulin-related issues or inflammatory-related issues, and typically it's a combination of both.
So I love that you say polychronic illnesses. So when we're talking about this, just for the sake of our audience, I think something important to think about is
How you
the
respond
majority of individuals who we're actually talking about are oftentimes people who have some cardiovascular disease, but may also have some inflammatory disease, may also deal with overweight or obesity and the things that come with it, whether that's sleep apnea or metabolic syndrome. And so there's a combination of things that everybody's dealing with. And one of the challenges is we find that you may be treating one item that your doctor says, well, let's work on this. And at the same time, you find that the other diseases may or may not respond well to that kind of treatment. And so I think the important thing is to be able to really take all of those disease processes into account and then work forward from there. So maybe if we're not playing the video in the background anymore, Regin. No, I'm kidding. So if this is a good time for you, maybe if you want to talk just a little bit
He's
about
doing some serious multitasking.
I know he's doing a great job. Sometimes it's really fun to make fun of a former Apple kind of employee CEO, So maybe we could talk just a little bit about what polychronic disease kind of means to you, how you think about that. And then Daniel, if you could talk to us a little bit about when we say we're looking at your DNA and your gut biome, what exactly do we mean by that? So I guess maybe first to Ranjan, just telling us a little bit more about polychronic disease. And then Daniel, over to you, really explaining just a little bit more of the science for our audience behind how this happens. Because right now it sounds very magical and wonderful, but there's actually a lot of science behind why this works.
So, in terms of polychronic, if you look at, we break it into two halves. On the left-hand side, those are mostly cardiometabolic, hypertension, prediabetes, diabetes, and they are in many ways highly driven by insulin-related issues. On the right-hand side, we call those whisper illnesses, and partly because if you look at mental health, digestive health, even some inflammatory skin conditions, chronic pain, there is a stigma associated with them. And people don't talk about it a lot, and especially in the employer environment, that tends to be either a payer or an employer tends to be our primary payer for our business. And those are, we have known over the years, those illnesses are manifested because of a mismatch between the host genetics, the gut microbiome, causing an inflammatory response. And so when we look at a patient, we don't look at it as this patient has 3 illnesses or 4 illnesses, so give them 4 digital apps or digital programs. We look at the patient holistically, put them at the center of care, and look at, because we have so much signals from their genetics, their microbiome, their actual food, their lifestyle vitals, beyond the medical vitals, that we are able to focus on that 20% change to their lifestyle that'll have the 80% impact. And that's what makes the program very unique.
That's fantastic. I have to say, because you had the dollar sign numbers up there, it really is an incredible opportunity for cost reduction in the healthcare system as well, right? When we're thinking about that cost, we're not thinking about, how much money can we make per se. We're thinking about how much can we save in the healthcare system by attacking these things early. We're also thinking about cost in terms of days of work that are missed, right? We're thinking about quality of life for these individuals, and therefore for those people who perhaps work with them. And so I think there's, a lot of societal cost to some of these diseases that you're mentioning as well. And it's almost a sense of an epidemic, if you will, which is obesity is certainly an epidemic in this country. Hypertension, and really not, it's global, right? Not limited here. Mental illness has really only kind of gotten worse. And then digestive health, many times people don't consider it an illness, but it really truly is. And it perhaps is one of the things that, you joke that people sit around and talk about their digestive health as we get older, but it's actually true because it's a large part of what everybody deals with. And so I love that that's acknowledged there. Daniel, kind of over to you though, thinking about how this works. Can we really find the DNA markers? When you say DNA, what are you looking for there? And then when we say microbiome, for a lot of people, that's just a black box. So what can you really learn from it? Will you tell people a little bit in the best kind of lay but scientific way possible what we're looking for when we say DNA plus microbiome?
Yeah, sure. So basically, when people onboard into the Digbi program, we send them kits to sample their own genome, which is swab of the cheek, right? And then we also send them a stool collection swab, and we process those in the lab. And then what we get is the genome of the person, and then the microbiome composition of their gut. And up until recently, 10, 15 years ago, medicine mostly deal with microbes as pathogens, right? Like there was this belief that if you have a microbe, then it's a synonym of sickness. Whereas now, with the advancement of next generation sequencing platforms, we're able to sequence almost everything over the face of Earth, including buildings and inside of people and so on. And we have realized that we have a large community of microbes, and most of them actually are beneficial. In terms of weight, we have, let's say, 4 or 5 pounds of microbes in a adult human body. But in terms of cell number, they are almost equal to the cell number of human cells that we have in our body. But then in terms of genes, it comes the big difference, right? Humans only have 20,000 genes that we inherit from our parents, whereas our microbiome hosts around 10 million different genes. So you can envision that the number of functions that these microbes provide to us vastly outnumber the number of functions that our own genes can do. So like, if you just take that for a second and you have 500 more functional genes in your microbiome that you have in your own genome, that's just outstanding per se. And that's why there is so much interest in the microbiome, right? So we take both of those signals for our care. So let me give you an example. What we try to look for in the samples of individuals are two things. We look for diagnostic signatures, and then we look for therapeutic pathways for them, right? So a diagnostic signature, for instance, will be if you have a cohort of people that have, let's say, obesity and at the same time a mental health comorbidity, for instance, anxiety, which is pretty good, well linked already in the literature through the microbiome, right? So you have people with obesity and anxiety, and then you have people without obesity and anxiety. What is it different between them? And we're leveraging the knowledge that has been already published in the literature by others, right? So like there is plenty of evidence in the literature for these signatures, and we use those to put people into different paths. And then once we have them into different diagnostic paths, then what we want to do a food intervention, right? Our digital therapeutics is based on food. That's our intervention. So food and lifestyle can modify the risk factors that they have. So let me give you a very clear example. So in a recent article, and I think you have discussed with Ranjan this article that we published earlier this year, we saw that a big difference between the people that were successful at losing weight versus those that don't had a specific SNP change in the adiponectin gene. And this adiponectin gene has been pretty well associated with the intake of monounsaturated fats. So like if you have this mutation and you decrease your monounsaturated fat consumption, which comes in like olive oil and avocados and nuts, then you have the same chance at being successful at losing weight and other comorbidities as people that don't have the mutation, right?
So I'm gonna pause right there for the non-scientists in the audience. So we tell people that these monounsaturated fats are healthier, right? We tell them that the olive oil type fats are the ones that you want to be using. You don't want to use things like the coconut oils or things that are tropical oils that solidify. That is our general global advice that we've been giving for a long time. It turns out that if in adiponectin, which is one of those genes that is responsible for obesity and in fact leading to metabolic syndrome and other things in these individuals, there is a single nucleotide polymorphism. That is just one tiny area of your genetic code that is different, but consistently different in people. Then that is a person who may not benefit from high doses of olive oil. And so like the woman in your video, for example, doing that Mediterranean diet with a ton of olive oil is probably not right for her specifically. And so this is the level of detail that science is now getting us to. And Daniel's actually published a lot of this work where you can really, that's what we're talking about, personalize that medicine. So I guess a question to you, Daniel.
I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
So you're saying if I did a cheek swab and gave you some poop, you might be able to see if I had this little snip and then say, Dr. Joe, stop eating the olive oil and you'll lose 10 pounds. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
That's correct. I mean,
I should get this test.
I mean, the genetics and the microbiome is one component. Then there is also engagement, right? So we have this multiply one another. So like if we give you that recommendation and then you don't engage in the process, you won't lose weight, right? Like
that's true. Or if you perhaps eat less olive oil, but then eat French fries and ice cream, Dr. Joe, which has been known to be done by certain people, that may not be in the best interest of your health, or maybe okay for certain aspects of your health, but may lead to the cardiovascular disease that, you don't want to have.
We haven't tested it. My gut biome could respond really well to French fries.
So that gets to a great question then. So both Daniel and Ranjan, moving forward, let's say you gave me my profile. So go back one step. How much are you checking? I mean, are you doing whole exome and telling me everything I could possibly have, or have you decided and selected that you are looking for 20 specific things and that is your panel? I think that's probably the first step people want to know. And then second is, if we find something, how do you help me get the right diet? And when do we check again? So let's do all three of those. What are you checking? How are you helping me fix things? And then when do you check again?
So Amy, one of the things that we are different about is we don't just look at your genetic signal or your microbiome signal or just your clinical signals. We really using our software integrate all those signals. And even if we are not just looking at a single SNP, for example, if you're looking at your monounsaturated fat metabolism, there is a polygenic panel we are looking at to determine the risk level that it is. And in many cases, you can even extrapolate that to ethnic risk factors. If you're South Asian Indian like me, you're somebody of African American origin, monounsaturated fat is not your friend. And sooner or later, someday, we'll come to that realization. And we see that in our cohort. Literally, people's health change by one small, precise change. But then we are combining your clinical symptoms, your clinical blood markers with your DNA and the microbiome. And the software looks at all these signals to be cohesive. And if they're coherent, then we increase the value of that signal. If it's not, then it's probably noise. And if all the signals point to a certain way, then we are able to then modulate the food. And that is, again, built into the platform. All our foods are tagged for insulin response. General, the response may be different for individuals, but in general, they are tagged for inflammatory response. And the third thing they are tagged to is the range of fiber. So there are 5 kinds of broad classes of fiber. So the foods are tagged to that. So we can tell you precisely what vegetables to bring in because we want to upregulate a particular kind of bacteria. So that is relatively transparent to the user. The user just goes, okay, I need to plan my meal. They can plan their meal. The software will pick up the right recipes that work for them.
That's wonderful. And then you mentioned ethnicities in terms of recipes. This covers a variety of different ethnicities because we know that our kind of South Asian, African American, Hispanic population suffer from a lot of these, perhaps in a disproportionate manner. Okay.
Right.
Wonderful.
And if you look at, it's not just cardiovascular. If you look at digestive disorders, Caucasian women have the highest risk. If you look at hypertension, African American women, men have a very high risk. Diabetes, people of Hispanic heritage. And as Ami, if you're a South Asian Indian male, I have a 4x higher cardiovascular risk. Keeping all other, I could be a non-smoking vegetarian for. And the underpinnings are in the genetics microbiome. And one of the hardest things to modulate is your lifestyle. So if your food access is McDonald's, and we have clients whose large workforce is eating at McDonald's or Denny's, we have embedded in our program that you can continue consuming food at McDonald's. But what's the small, precise change you want to make to your McDonald's consumption that we can impact your metabolic output?
That's excellent.
Without it, you really can make food as medicine. Then it becomes a theoretical exercise.
So then we have a few questions coming in. So one is how long before people should recheck if they join the platform? And then the other is, do you only do your platform with employers or can individuals join your platform? Oh, look, you're getting interest.
So you can clearly sign up through our website and join our care programs. But most of our business either comes through self-insured employers, and we are the first gut and microbiome-based chronic care platform that is now covered by Blue Shield of California for its 4 million members.
That's great.
And we have been live with them since October of 2019. And here are some of the results that Blue Shield published just about a year ago that you can see on my screen.
Great,
And
because I
this-
think people are thinking about how much less obesity, there it is.
Yeah. And this is data that was, I think, about a cohort of 600 people, I would guess. That is about a 9% reduction of weight. As you can see, that's a meaningful reduction of hemoglobin sugar. But what's really most heartening for us was how we were able to impact these other inflammatory comorbidities.
Absolutely.
And
this is kind of insane. These
and
these
over what
impressive
period
numbers.
of time was
I
this?
mean, these are really
Ranjan?
impressive numbers.
Yeah. So this was after the first 6 months of going
Oh my
live.
gosh.
Just 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our entire, at least our payment mechanism with Blue Shield is linked to purely value-based. So we get paid if we drive certain amount of engagement,
That's also
and
insane.
reduction of these markers and maintenance of these markers. So there is no payment if we can't deliver the results. And
I'm going to just repeat that one time, right? Talking about where is the future of value-based care. So Digbi Health CEO Ranjan Sinha just said that their payment model is one of first showing that what they have created, this first platform looking at both the DNA, personalized health, and knowledge about what they have in the microbiome, they only get paid once they show that they've created the outcomes for the patients who are enrolled. Right. So this is the future of value-based healthcare, and it's people and companies also buying into the concept that they believe that what they have created will truly improve health. I can't say enough about just that concept behind it. And
I'm going to just underscore the impressiveness of that you believe in value-based reimbursement. You believe in your outcomes so much that you are tying revenue to that. That's massive.
And I would assume the reason why we are able to do that is because we're attacking the root cause of the problem, right? We're not just looking at the symptom and minimizing the symptom. We're going right to your genetic material and your microbes that live in your gut, and we modulate those. So then you optimize your lifestyle and your food intake.
That's wonderful.
That is fascinating.
That's wonderful. And you modulate them not necessarily using invasive procedures or medications with side effects, although some of those are necessary for people's care. And I'm a cardiologist. I'm a big fan of them when appropriate. But, starting early and starting with lifestyle and dietary, nutrition, exercise changes, what a difference those can make.
It's food as medicine, Dr. Bhatt.
It is food as medicine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine has existed for a long time, but it's in its heyday now because I think people have really realized the food as medicine concept has been true for generations, right? All the grandmothers could definitely cure your illnesses.
Do we really realize that yet?
Well, okay, maybe we don't. I'm hoping we're starting to realize that now. I am hoping we're starting to realize that now. Some segments are. Well, I think we're at 12:35. Jen, any comments from your end that are coming up? I know our LinkedIn comments are down today, so we apologize to any LinkedIn people who may not be able to do that.
Nothing special so far. This has been super exciting. I am just going to underscore that I am impressed by the reduction in headaches and migraines. Ranjan, you haven't said this to me yet. So I suffer from migraines like crazy and have tried everything. Like I had 50 injections in my scalp once. It was kind of insane. And the results I thought were not that impressive. I'm going to have to give this a try.
Yeah.
May I add something to what you just said, Jennifer? We recently published in a preprint repository in medRxiv our health outcomes for gut health. So you can go there and we have a specific diagnostic and therapeutic signatures for different types of gut comorbidities, including constipation, diarrhea, IBS, and so on. And our upcoming publication that will come up this next quarter, it's about mental health. So watch out for that. We have some very awesome health outcomes. And this ties to reduction of medical expenses and also use of medication. So we're polishing that data for publication. So we will have that data out soon.
Very exciting. And Gunther, I would be remiss if I didn't just say, and JMIR Publications would love to publish that. It's
wonderful.
open access.
Well, I think we are about at time. So maybe Daniel and then Ranjan, any kind of final thoughts for our audience who is composed of scientists and entrepreneurs and clinicians and investors, all thinking about, what world have you just opened up for them? Any thoughts to them about the future of this concept of personalized medicine?
I think we have built the science, we have built the tools, and one of the things we put a lot of effort in is to ultimately deliver total care. We do have a very strong connection, which we call the physician connect in our care architecture. And so we try to bring the physician as much as possible into at least making them aware that one of their patients is under our care. The idea is not to consume their time, but once we see reversal of markers, to send them back so that they can see either reduction of medication, and it becomes a great virtuous cycle for us, because the physicians then start directing patients to us. So we do having the physician in our process is very critical.
Thank you for saying that. As a clinician whose patients do search for a lot of different ways to improve their health, I think that closed loop communication is essential. Daniel, any last words from you? And then I'll turn it over to Jen.
Sure. As I said at the beginning, the microbiome is a new frontier in medicine and in other disciplines, right? So there's going to be much coming out of the microbiome. What I think that Digbi has been doing differently, and I would say for other entrepreneurs and people in the space, is that food can provide practical efficacy, as we have seen and others have seen in the space. As Jennifer mentioned, food as medicine is something that we have known culturally for a long time. Only now we have the tools to monitor them and see that the effects are actually happening. So my vision is that food as a tool to modulate the microbiome is just going to take more and more attention in the space that it has been so far.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for being with us today. It's never enough time, but we're glad that we were able to kind of dedicate, this whole, half hour to 40 minutes with just you, because I think it's a lot to think about. It's a phenomenal way to run a medical platform that really is not only based in lifestyle, but it's not running parallel concepts. And I think we started with that, and I'll end with that. If I have 6 different diseases and there's 6 different people asking me to think about it and treat it differently, first of all, my level of understanding is challenged by just having to learn 6 different things. And then the second is, I really don't know how to bring them all together in my care. And so the fact that your platform encompasses thinking about all of these things is important. I think the second is, and we probably haven't emphasized enough, the quality of life improvement from the types of diseases that can be treated with food alone must be immense. And I'm sure some of your papers probably talk about that. But I think that's something that we owe our patients, is not just we're going to make you healthy, but we're going to help you live better lives. So with that, thank you both for being with us. And Jen, final words?
Yes, this has been a really insightful conversation. I really appreciate Ranjan and Daniel for joining us. Ranjan knows that I was just floored by what he had created with Digbi Health. And I was excited to continue the conversation, hear what we're creating. I am especially passionate about this, and Dr. Bhatt's just underscored this, which is, if we can understand what's happening and treat it in a really natural, organic, but also data-driven way, that is incredible. And I see that as the future of healthcare. And I will just underscore that. You can treat depression, anxiety, a sense of mood and happiness with diet. And I think we just don't even understand the massive impact that Digbi Health will have. So honored to have you guys on the show. Thank you for everyone for taking their time out today. Next, I'm having some scheduling issues, so we will not be live next Tuesday, but look for us for the following Tuesday. And also, thank you to our guest and to our audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Ami.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.